Now I sort of relax, I sort of accepted myself the way I am. But of course I wanted to have more shape.
Audrey Hepburn was truly one of a kind. Known for her iconic roles in films like Roman Holiday, 1953, and Breakfast at Tiffany's, 1961, Audrey rose to the top of her class, becoming a global star whose name was associated with grace and elegance. With a career that spanned several decades, Audrey captured the hearts of audiences around the world. However, there is much more to her story than meets the eye. She was born right in the middle of World War II to Nazi sympathizer parents, so her early life was filled with numerous challenges, including the struggle of growing up in Nazi-occupied Europe. However, despite these hardships, she rose to become a celebrated A-list actress, with numerous awards to show for it. But beyond the big screen, Audrey's legacy goes further. After her career, she dedicated herself to humanitarian efforts, working with UNICEF to help alleviate hunger and poverty in developing countries. Yet, despite all the fame and accomplishments, Audrey's life remains surrounded by lots of mystery that a lot of people don't know about. There are still many unanswered questions about her early years, how she was able to make it out of Nazi-occupied Europe, the personal battles she fought behind the scenes, and the hidden sides of her humanitarian work. Now, 2 decades after her death, Audrey's son has come out to reveal sides of Audrey that the world never truly knew. So what exactly did he say about her? Join us as we take a deep dive into her life and everything her brave son just uncovered. Early background. In her prime, Audrey Hepburn was one of the biggest and most popular actresses in the world. She left behind a legacy that proved to be far greater than her achievements on screen, and one that has continued to mean a lot to people even decades after her passing. Over the course of her career, she was named one of the rare few to achieve the coveted EGOT status by winning Academy, Emmy, Grammy, and Tony Awards. Furthermore, she won 3 BAFTA Awards for Best British Actress and earned a Lifetime Achievement Award from BAFTA in 1992. Years after her death, Audrey was still a celebrated figure in cinema, even receiving a tribute from the Film Society of Lincoln Center in 1991. Furthermore, her humanitarian efforts were honored with the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award in 1993, and her influence has gone on even further today. But Audrey's life was not always glamorous. Her life was a roller coaster, filled with challenges and triumphs. And to understand her story, we have to go back to where it all started and explain how those experiences helped shape the person she grew up to become. Audrey was born on May 4, 1929, in Brussels, to a large family. Her father, Joseph Anthony Rustin, was British, but had been born in Auschwitz, Austria. Her mother, Ella, was a Dutch baroness and noblewoman, which must have seemed to create a happy childhood for Audrey. However, behind the scenes, life was far from perfect. Her early years were marked with challenges and instabilities. The very first source of instability came from her father's job. Joseph initially worked for a trading company, but after his marriage, he moved to London to work for a loan company. 3 years later, he relocated to Brussels, where he was assigned to open a branch office. The family spent the next 3 years traveling back and forth between Brussels and London before finally settling in Brussels. While Audrey's father was wealthy and her early childhood appeared sheltered and privileged, life took a dramatic turn in the mid-1930s. During this time, Audrey's parents recruited and collected donations for the British Union of Fascists, a movement inspired by the rise of Hitler and Mussolini, seeking to bring similar ideologies to Britain. Her mother, Ella, reportedly met Adolf Hitler and was a supporter of the British Union of Fascists, which promoted similar ideologies. However, the thing that truly marked Audrey's hardship and heartbreak from an early age was when her father, Joseph, abruptly abandoned the family in 1935. He moved to London, where he became more deeply involved in fascist activities, and he never returned to visit Audrey abroad. Later in life, Audrey reflected on the impact of being dumped by her father. She went on to describe her father's departure as the most traumatic event of her life, which left her with a lifelong fear of abandonment, something that would echo in her relationships later on. In the 1960s, Audrey renewed her contact with her father after locating him in Dublin through the Red Cross, and she supported him financially until his death, although he remained emotionally detached. After her father left, things quickly went downhill. Audrey's mother, devastated by the separation, struggled to hold their lives together. Financial troubles set in, and their once stable world felt like it was crumbling. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 only added to their difficulties. In an attempt to escape the war, Audrey's mother moved the family to the Netherlands, thinking that they would find safety there. She believed that the Netherlands would remain neutral and be spared of German attack, and she was right, for a while. In 1940, the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, and it didn't take long for the family to realize that they were now trapped. Audrey later stated, "Had we known that we were going to be occupied for 5 years, we might have all shot ourselves. We thought it might be over next week, 6 months, next year, and that's how we got through." Life under Nazi occupation was unbearably harsh. Survival became a daily struggle, and food was so scarce that Audrey and her family resorted to eating tulip bulbs to stay alive. Despite these hardships, Audrey's mother was still in awe of Hitler. However, it wasn't until 1942 that things came to a turning point for Audrey's mother. Her brother-in-law was executed in retaliation for sabotage by a resistance movement. Meanwhile, Audrey's half-brothers faced their own dangers. One was sent to a labor camp, while the other went into hiding to avoid a similar fate. These events forced Ella to confront the harsh reality of the ideology she had once supported, and it led to her significantly changing her views. During the war, Audrey Hepburn wasn't one to sit on the sidelines. Even as a teenager, she played an active role in the Dutch resistance, performing in secret blackout shows to raise money for the fighters. And as if that wasn't brave enough, she also worked as a courier, slipping messages into her shoes and sneaking them past the Nazis. And if that wasn't brave enough, she also worked as a courier, slipping messages into her shoes and sneaking them past the Nazis. But all that danger and hardship came at a great personal cost. Firstly, Audrey was exposed to a lot of traumatic events that would go on to haunt her for life. On one occasion, she witnessed the transportation of Dutch Jews to concentration camps, later stating that, "More than once, I was at the station seeing trainloads of Jews being transported, seeing all these faces over the top of the wagon. I remember, very sharple, one little boy standing with his parents on the platform, very pale, very blonde, wearing a coat that was too big for him. And he stepped on the train. I was a child, observing a child." Beyond the emotional trauma from witnessing the horrors of the wars, Audrey also battled with malnutrition. During the 1944-45 Dutch famine, which remains one of the darkest periods in Dutch history, the Germans cut off the already limited food and fuel supplies to civilians in retaliation for Dutch railway strikes aimed at disrupting Nazi operations. Like many others, Audrey and her family members had to resort to making flour out of tulip bulbs to bake cakes and biscuits. With this being their primary food for months, the lack of essential nutrients had devastating effects. Audrey became gravely ill, suffering from jaundice, anemia, edema, and even a respiratory infection. However, Audrey's recovery from her illness came about in an unexpected way. Ella, Audrey's mother, sent a desperate letter to a former lover, a British Army officer she had met years earlier when he was a prisoner of war. He sent back thousands of cigarettes, which she was able to sell on the black market to be able to buy penicillin, which saved Audrey's life. The family's financial situation, which was previously grand due to their royal ties, was now drastically altered. Many of their properties were damaged or destroyed during the war, leaving them to rebuild their lives from scratch. After the war ended, Audrey and her family moved to Amsterdam, where she tried to revive her dreams of becoming a professional dancer. She poured her heart into training with the famous ballet instructor Sonia Gaskell, even though the toll of the war on her body made it a very hard task. Despite their struggles, Audrey's mother, Ella, supported her daughter's aspirations by taking on work as a cook and housekeeper for a wealthy family. It was a striking reversal of fortune. Once part of a royal lineage, Ella was now working for another wealthy household. Hollywood. Audrey made her film debut playing as an air stewardess in Dutch in 7 Lessons, an educational travel film. Her passion for dance later led her to London, where she studied under the legendary Marie Rambert. She supported herself with part-time work as a model and dropped Rustin from her surname, and she was really energetic about making her dreams come to life. However, that was when life hit her hard. Audrey's health issues and height worked against her, making it impossible for her to reach the top of the ballet world. She was told by Rambert that despite her talent, her height, and her weak constitution, she wouldn't be able to make the status of a prima ballerina. This devastating news was a turning point for Audrey. Accepting that she would never be a prima ballerina was a heartbreaking moment for Audrey, but it also marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life. When life knocked her down, Audrey chose to get back up, paving the way for the extraordinary career that lay ahead. The setback was tough, but Audrey Hepburn wasn't about to give up on her dreams. With her trademark determination, she decided to shift gears and pursue acting, starting with small roles in British films to make ends meet. To help pay the bills, she took on part-time modeling gigs, appeared in a couple of shows, and even became a dancer in one of London's prominent nightclubs. This phase of her life, far away from the glitz and glamour that would later define her, showed just how resilient she was. Though she was just another struggling artist trying to get by, Audrey stood out in her minor roles, showcasing a natural talent and poise that caught the attention of those who mattered. Audrey wasn't just committed to doing her best. She went the extra mile to develop her skills and push past her limits. During her theatrical work, she took elocution lessons with an older actor to help her develop her voice. It was through this unique skill that she was spotted by the casting director of Ealing Studios, which gave her even bigger roles. Audrey's big break came in 1951 when she was cast in the Broadway play Gigi. Although the production itself came with a lot of criticism because people saw it as subpar compared to the French film adaptation, Audrey's performance stole the show. The New York Times praised her, stating that her quality is so winning and so right that she is the success of the evening. For her role, Audrey won her first ever award, a Theatre World Award. This impressive performance gave her career a significant boost, and soon Hollywood came knocking. The real game changer arrived in 1953 when Audrey landed her first major role in Roman Holiday. In the movie, she played Prince Anne, a European princess who had a royal itching for a taste of freedom. Sharing the screen with Gregory Peck, Audrey gave the role her everything she had, and it paid off in ways that would forever alter her life. The film was a box office success, and it gained Audrey lots of credit for her performance. In the same year, she won 3 major awards: the Academy Award for Best Actress, the BAFTA Award for Best British Actress in a Leading Role, and the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress. The success of Roman Holiday was nothing short of extraordinary, and Audrey Hepburn's performance left audiences and critics alike in awe. Even Gregory Peck, her seasoned co-star, was so impressed by her talent that he insisted she receive equal billing in the credits, a rare move for a newcomer at the time. It was a clear testament to Audrey's undeniable skill and charm. Overnight, Roman Holiday turned Audrey Hepburn into a star. Audiences fell in love with her mix of innocence, humor, and heartfelt vulnerability. It was the defining moment that cemented Audrey Hepburn as one of Hollywood's most cherished actresses. Her next iconic role came in 1961 when she played Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Holly, the character she was playing, embodied glamour, freedom, and deep loneliness, themes that pushed Audrey into a new territory. But it seemed like a piece of cake for Audrey. She would later state that the role was the jazziest of my career, though she also admitted that "I'm an introvert. Playing the extroverted girl was the hardest thing I ever did." Despite the challenge, Audrey's portrayal won her yet another Academy Award for Best Actress. From the very first scene, Audrey created an image that would remain etched in cinematic history. The black dress she wore became a timeless symbol of elegance and style. Audrey Hepburn's role as Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's was a game-changer, taking her already impressive career to even newer heights. There was no doubt that she was already a beloved actress, but this performance unveiled a whole new layer of her talent. Critics were quick to praise her, hailing her portrayal as a standout achievement. Even though she didn't win the Academy Award, her nomination alone was proof of just how impactful her performance was. Publications like Time magazine and the Chicago Tribune highlighted her ability to balance Holly's complexity, turning a potentially superficial character into someone authentic. Audrey made Holly feel sweet, silly, and deeply human, capturing hearts and proving that her talent wasn't just about glamour, it was about creating characters audiences truly cared about. Audrey Hepburn's unforgettable performance as Holly Golightly didn't just make waves in Hollywood. It shaped popular culture in a way few roles ever have. Her ability to balance Holly's carefree charm with her underlying vulnerability turned the character into a timeless figure audiences continue to adore. This role wasn't just a highlight of Audrey's career, it was a showcase of her incredible range, blending humor and drama with effortless grace and solidifying her status as a Hollywood legend. Entry into the fashion spotlight. Audrey Hepburn's influence was not limited to Hollywood. It extended to fashion as well. Her induction into the International Best Dressed Hall of Fame in 1961 proved just how much her impeccable style captivated the public. Audrey was known for her fashion choices and her distinctive look, and journalist Mark Tungate described her as a recognizable brand. When she first rose to stardom in Roman Holiday, 1953, she became an alternative feminine ideal, one that appealed more to women than men. Unlike the more sexual and curvy Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor, Audrey presented a look that young women found easier to emulate. With her short hairstyle, thick eyebrows, and slim figure, Audrey's style was fresh and accessible. In 1954, a fashion photographer, Cecil Beaton, described Audrey as the public embodiment of the new feminine ideal in vogue, writing that nobody ever looked like her before World War II. Her style was so influential that even American singer Ariana Grande emulated it in the early stages of her career. In the late 1950s, Audrey helped popularize plain black leggings, further cementing her status as a style icon. She was particularly associated with French fashion designer Hubert de Givenchy, who first hired her to design her on-screen wardrobe for a film when she was still relatively unknown. Their initial meeting was quite unexpected. Givenchy mistakenly thought the Miss Hepburn coming to visit was Katharine Hepburn, the established Hollywood star. When he realized it was Audrey Hepburn, an up-and-coming actress, he was reportedly disappointed, but agreed to meet with her regardless. They went on to form a lifelong friendship and a legendary fashion collaboration. Throughout her career and even after her death, Audrey received several accolades for her stylish appearance and attractiveness. She was even named the most beautiful woman of all time and most beautiful woman of the 20th century. Even decades later, designers and celebrities like Natalie Portman and Taylor Swift look to Audrey as the ultimate style icon. Retailers and fashion lines, including Barney's, have drawn inspiration from her elegance, creating collections that celebrate her enduring legacy. Audrey's timeless fashion sense and effortless charm continue to inspire, proving that her influence is as iconic as ever. Personal struggles. In between all the glamour and glitz of her career, Audrey's personal life was far more challenging and complex than her career might suggest. In 1952, Audrey became engaged to industrialist James Hansen, whom she had known since her early days in London. She called it love at first sight, but after having her wedding dress fitted and the date set, she decided the marriage would not work because the demands of their careers would keep them apart most of the time. She issued a public statement about her decision saying, "When I get married, I want to be really married." She later found what she was looking for when she married actor Mel Ferrer in 1954 after meeting him during the Broadway production of Ondine. Their chemistry seemed perfect at first, but their relationship faced serious struggles, including multiple miscarriages in 1955, 1959, 1965, and 1967, which caused Audrey a lot of emotional pain. However, the birth of their son, Sean Hepburn Ferrer, in 1960 was a bright spot in her life, bringing her great joy. Still, rumors about Ferrer being too controlling and having infidelities began to surface. Furthermore, there were speculations about Audrey's own relationships with actors William Holden and Robert Anderson, though nothing was ever confirmed. After 14 years of a difficult marriage, Audrey and Mel Ferrer divorced in 1968. In 1969, Audrey married Italian psychiatrist Andrea Dotti, and they had a son, Luca, in 1970. While pregnant with Luca, Audrey was more careful due to her history of miscarriages, and she ensured to rest months before delivering the baby with a cesarean section. However, she still suffered another miscarriage in 1974. Their marriage eventually ended in divorce in 1982 after both were unfaithful. Dotti had affairs with younger women, while Audrey had a brief relationship with actor Ben Gazzara while filming Bloodline in 1979. Their marriage lasted 12 years, and once again, Audrey found herself dealing with the emotional challenges of a broken relationship. After the ups and downs of her second marriage, Audrey Hepburn finally found lasting happiness with Dutch actor Robert Wolders, whom she met in 1980. Their relationship quickly grew into a deep romantic connection, and for over a decade, they were inseparable. Unlike her past marriages, this bond was based on mutual respect and shared values. Audrey often referred to Robert as her partner, and even though they never formalized their relationship, she believed that was what made it truly special. With Robert, Audrey finally experienced the emotional stability she had longed for. He supported her not only in her personal life, but also as she dedicated herself more to humanitarian work. Audrey often expressed how grateful she was for their relationship, and it became clear that Robert played an essential role in her later years. Humanitarian efforts. In the 1950s, Audrey Hepburn narrated 2 radio programs for UNICEF, helping to retell children's stories of war. Her dedication to humanitarian work grew, and in 1989, she was appointed as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador. Her first field mission for UNICEF was to Ethiopia, where she visited an orphanage that housed 500 starving children and had UNICEF send them food. That was to be her first of many visits to various developing countries to help provide aid. She traveled to countries like Turkey, Venezuela, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Sudan, Vietnam, and Bangladesh, working tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of those suffering in developing countries. In September 1992, Audrey visited Somalia, describing it as apocalyptic. She said, "I walked into a nightmare. I have seen famine in Ethiopia and Bangladesh, but I have seen nothing like this. So much worse than I could possibly have imagined. I wasn't prepared for this." Though scarred by what she had seen, Hepburn still had hope for the future and did the best she could do. Little did she know that that was going to be her last outreach. Upon returning to Switzerland from Somalia in late September 1992, Audrey began to experience abdominal pain. Initial medical tests in Switzerland yielded no clear answers, but a later test in Los Angeles revealed the devastating news. Audrey had abdominal cancer. The disease had developed slowly over the years, forming a thin coating over her small intestine. After undergoing surgery, Audrey began chemotherapy. Audrey and her family returned home to Switzerland to celebrate her last Christmas together. As she was still recovering from surgery, she was unable to fly on commercial aircraft. Her longtime friend, fashion designer Hubert de Givenchy, arranged a private jet filled with flowers to take Audrey from Los Angeles to Geneva. She spent her last days in hospice care at her home in Switzerland and was firstly well enough to take walks in her garden, but gradually became more confined to bed rest. Audrey died on the evening of the 20th of January, 1993. Audrey's son, Sean Ferrer, has played quite a significant role in preserving his mother's legacy and continuing her humanitarian work. In 1994, a year after his death, Ferrer founded the Audrey Hepburn Children's Fund, which was intended to honor her dedication to helping children. Ferrer also served as the Rare Disease Ambassador for the European Organization for Rare Diseases in 2014 and 2015. This role underscored his commitment to advocating for those affected by the rare cancer that claimed his mother's life. However, his tenure as chairman of the fund ended in 2012, and a series of lawsuits followed, involving disputes over the use of Audrey Hepburn's name and likeness. Despite stepping down, Ferrer ultimately succeeded in 2019 when the court ruled in his favor, affirming that the charity could not use Hepburn's image without his consent. Ferrer has also shared personal insights into his upbringing and the unique parenting style of his mother. He described his childhood as one that was grounded and was far removed from the glitz of Hollywood, emphasizing that Audrey made a conscious effort to ensure her family led a normal life. He also reflected on how his mother approached life with humility, often saying, "I take what I do seriously, but I don't take myself seriously." Legacy. Audrey Hepburn's impact went beyond awards. In 2009, The Times named her among the top 10 British actresses of all time. Yet, not everyone was a fan. In 2010, Emma Thompson said that Hepburn can't sing and she can't really act, sparking debates among Audrey's supporters and critics. Interestingly, Hepburn's son Sean later reflected, "My mother would be the first person to say she wasn't the best actress in the world, but she was a movie star." Audrey Hepburn's life and legacy still captivate audiences even today, decades after her passing. Furthermore, her story has been told in several projects, including The Audrey Hepburn Story, 2000, where Jennifer Love Hewitt and Emmy Rossum portrayed her at different stages of her life. More recently, her son Sean Ferrer and granddaughter Emma Ferrer helped produce the acclaimed 2020 documentary Audrey, directed by Helena Cohen. Even through her personal struggles, Audrey's influence on fashion never wavered. Her continued collaboration with Givenchy helped define her public image, with every outfit she wore becoming a reference for style lovers. From her iconic little black dress in Breakfast at Tiffany's to her more casual, effortless looks, Audrey's style was always on point. Her signature pieces, ballet flats, simple dresses, and minimalist accessories remain timeless and influential today. Audrey Hepburn's impact on fashion lives on, influencing modern stars like Sandra Bullock and Natalie Portman, who both see her as a style icon. Her timeless approach to fashion, focusing on simplicity, quality, and elegance rather than chasing trends, has left a lasting mark. Audrey's signature style continues to inspire new generations, and her looks are still a go-to reference for fashion lovers today. While her fashion legacy is undeniable, Audrey's later years saw her dedicating herself to humanitarian causes. As a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador, she traveled the world to advocate for children's rights, using her fame and grace to shine a spotlight on important issues. Even as she grew older, Audrey maintained the poise and style that had always defined her, proving that true beauty goes beyond physical appearance. Yet, for all her career success, Audrey's greatest joy came from being a mother. She deeply cherished her relationship with her sons, and their accomplishments were far more important to her than any professional achievement. Family meant everything to Audrey, something she valued, especially after the hardships of World War II. Having lived through such tough times, she understood the true importance of a safe, loving home. And she worked hard to give her children that same warmth and stability. So, what are your thoughts on Audrey Hepburn's extraordinary life and legacy? Did any part of her story resonate with you? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Thanks for watching.